Hey, positively Presto people, great to see you. Coming up is a little explanatory video on how to present a note worth 2.5 beats, which is in 4/4. Make sure that you understand, before we go on to this, make sure that you understand the concept of having something, whether it be a note or a rest, at the halfway point in a bar. So for example, if that is your bar, you've got 4 beats in a bar, you must have something at the halfway point to visually show where the halfway point is, because it's easier to read. Are there exceptions to that? Yes. If it's simpler, that's the key. If it's simpler to read whereby you don't do that, then you don't do it. So that's the exception to the rule. What might that be? For example, at the beginning of a bar, you can have a note worth 4 beats. So that means that you've got a whole note or semi-brief. You've got one note all the way through the bar. There's nothing halfway through it. You just got a whole note all the way through the bar. That's okay. Or a semi-brief all the way through the bar. That's all right, because that's the simplest way of doing it. What is the way of showing 4 beats where you do have something in the middle? You'd have a half note or minim and a half note or minim, and you tie the two together. So you have something at the halfway point. You've got a note worth 2 beats tied to a note worth 2 beats. And now I can see something on beat 3, which is the beginning of the halfway point. But that would be crazy, because that's more complicated than just having a note worth 4 beats. But you imagine having a far more complex rhythm. If you don't have something at the halfway point, then it's harder to read. Now the question is, how do I know which one's which? How do I know when to make it simple? How do I know when, I can break that rule? Well, coming up is some examples of how you get around that when showing a note worth 2.5 beats. If you find great value in today, then make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell, so that you will be notified of when we have new videos coming out. And if you need extra support, then make sure that you click the link to Music Theory Mastery by Presto Music School. You'll find it in our YouTube page or our Facebook page, hey, even on our website. Take care and enjoy the video coming up. See you later. Hey, positively Presto people, great to see you. In answer to the question, what happens to a note that's worth 2.5 beats in 4/4? How would we draw that? Well, as we know, a note worth 2 beats is a half note. And so if it's worth 2.5 beats, then we need a half note or minim, and we need to tie that to an 1/8 note or quaver. But where would we draw that in the first instance? Well, that's worth 2 beats, it's worth half the bar, so the next note would need to occur here, which is on beat 3, and then we tie those two together, like that, 2.5 beats. 2, beat number 1, beat number 2, beat number 3, and remember, proportional spacing. What do we mean by that? We've got 4 beats in a bar. If you have a note on beat number 1, you must show that that note is worth the proportional amount of space that the time signature says we've got beats in a bar. What does that mean in English? If that is worth 2 beats, that's half the bar. So therefore, whatever comes next must be at the beginning of the next half of the bar. And in time signatures where you have an even number of beats, then you must clearly show where the second half of the bar starts. So that's what would happen if you have 2.5 beats which starts at the beginning of the bar. But what happens if you have, for example, a rest, maybe, or a note that is on beat number 1, and then you want to show 2.5 beats from here? Well, 2.5 beats from beat number 2, I need to clearly show where that halfway point is. So what we would actually do is, and there are variations on this, but it's one of these things whereby learn the rule first, then learn how to break it later on, and why you would break it, very importantly. But the correct way, if there's such a term in music, the correct way Whoa, look at that. I'm not very happy with that, guys. That's not quite vertical. We must make sure that all our stems are vertical. I could do with a ruler on that as well. But there we go, there's a note worth 1 beat, and then a note worth 1 beat. Why am I doing that? Because now I've just clearly shown where the halfway point is. Yes, that stem should be just touching on the right hand side. Excuse my quick handwriting there. Tie those two together, and now I've got a note worth 2 beats. And if I dot that one, that's now 2.5 beats. Because that's worth 1.5, and that's worth 1, there's 2.5. Why can't I draw what I drew before, which is effectively, there's 2 beats and a half. Why can't I draw that? Because that's what I had from beat number 1, remember? Can't draw that because I don't have anything which is actually directly on the halfway point. Remember? In a time signature where you have even number of beats in a bar, you must show something which is halfway through the bar. Now, if at this point you're thinking, this is a step ahead from me, all further assistance that you could possibly find, you will get on our website, of course, Presto Music School. Go and check us out over there, or the Facebook page, Presto Music School, of course. But let's carry on. We've got one more version to show you. Let's say we had 2.5 beats starting from here, the halfway point. Because if you look at that, sorry, just past the halfway point between those two. So there's beat number 1, there's beat number 2. Let's say you were starting on the and of 2, and you wanted 2.5 beats from there. Remember, you still have to have something which is on the halfway point from beat 3 onward. So there's my 2 beats, but if the 2.5 beats start here, I have to finish off the half bar. So look what I've done. I finished off the half of that bar first. If I've got a note starting here on the and, I have to have a note which finishes off this half of the bar. So how do I do that? A note with half a beat. Remember this, I used the word half twice then. I used it because I was talking about half a beat, but also half a bar. What do we have to do? What is the rule when finishing these off? The first thing we do is we have to finish the beat off. So if I've got a note starting here, I finish the beat off first, which is half a beat because I'm starting here, halfway through beat 2. So there's the second half of the beat. So I finish off the half a beat first with that note. But also notice in doing that, because of where it starts at the halfway point. Just consider that again. I have to finish off that beat first, yeah? And now I have to finish off the half bar. But in finishing this half beat off, that does actually finish off the half bar because it's one and the same in this instance because of where it is. So I can show half a beat there and then the remainder 2 beats. So that's how it would be shown in this instance. So as you can see, if I started on beat number 1, I could show my full 2 beats like I did before. 2 beats tied to half a beat, like that. If I start on beat 2, it would be this example, and starting on beat the and after 2 would start there. And of course, if you start, if you started in there, and you think about this, if you're starting on a 16th, 1 E and A, 2 E and A. If you're starting somewhere in there, then it's going to be different again, but that's food for thought for another time. If you're still stuck and you want all the assistance in the world, check out our music theory mastery course. Guaranteed pass to grade 5, ABRSM or LCM syllabus first time. That's right, we will guarantee your pass first time. If you have any questions or queries, well, you know where we are, Presto Music School. Take care, guys.